Welcome to another edition of Living with Purpose. And today I have Tysha Tolbert, who is the founder and CEO of PondHR, a workplace wellness company. But more importantly, she is a serial entrepreneur. She has done amazing amount of work in the technology space, in the SaaS space. But more importantly, she has been really living her life full of purpose. So please join me in welcoming Tysha to Living with Purpose. Tysha, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Let's talk about you growing up and how that has been the founding principles of who you are today.
I'm a first-generation American. I'm first-gen, so my parents immigrated from Liberia to the D.C. metropolitan area in the very early 80s. And I would say growing up, I was always this very opinionated, goal-driven kid. I had a voice. I spoke it. I always felt the need to be heard. I always felt open to speak. I think that is probably one of the best things that my parents instilled into me. Also, just the thirst for knowledge and education at the forefront, as many immigrant homes are. You know, it's all about going to school, learning, and, making a life for yourself, because education really does open and unlock opportunities for you. But I did always carry the weight of feeling like I didn't belong. Like growing up in the 80s, I felt like I was too African to be American, too American to be African, and then definitely too smart to ever be considered cool, right?
Right.
I was bullied a lot in school, and that deeply shaped me, but in retrospect, in the best way possible, because I feel like I became someone who not only longed for belonging, but eventually, took on the responsibility of creating it for others.
So your parents immigrated into the U.S. And they arrived in the D.C. area. What were they doing?
Yes. So my father has a finance background. He was an accountant, and he was in healthcare and switched over to federal government financial control. And that's what he did for, 25 years or more. And then he took a job with one of the Liberian presidential administrations some years back now. I don't know if you remember Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So he took a role in her administration and retired there. Now, my mother, she is an educator, and I think that's also where that thirst for knowledge came from. So she spent 31 years teaching. She still actually substitutes, but she taught between DC public school system and Prince George's County school system. Her thing was sparking the interest in kids, planting the seeds. So she was an early childhood educator.
Mm-hmm.
She retired just a few years ago, but she still subs. It's her, those who can teach, right?
Clearly, that has shaped you and influenced you, seeing that both parents were actively involved and engaged in doing things in the service of others.
You know what? I never thought about it like that, but absolutely. Because even before my father went into public service, like doing federal contracting, ICE and Department of Homeland Security, one of the first financial teams for DHS. But before that, housing authorities, he worked with Greater Southeast Hospital, which was like a nonprofit. So healthcare was his thing. And then he went on to taking that deputy administrator for healthcare role, with the Liberian government. So service for sure. And then with my mom, public servant as well, education. I never thought about that. You just showed me something.
So you're growing up in this environment, siblings?
Yes. So I have two brothers. I'm in the middle, but I'm the little big sister, if you will, definitely the boss. So my older brother has a military background, and he's in automotive sales, and he also has a business. And then my younger brother, he went into federal contracting as well, not financial, more on the project management side. And there's a unique story with him. So multiples run in my family, and my brother has a set of twins and triplets. So he's a mega dad, and we all help him with the raising, of his clan, of his tribe. It's beautiful. Yeah,
And I love the word tribe, right? I mean, it's so much this African cultural embodiment that you belong to a tribe.
absolutely.
And we kind of forget the tribes that we belong to, particularly when you come into the US, where we kind of thrive on individuality. So you're growing up in a tribe, you support a tribe, you went to school there, and then what?
I went to George Washington University and created my own tribe or found people in my tribe. So at that time, I was in the School of Engineering and Applied Science. The Department of Computer Science had so few minorities. There were very few females, very few African American. There's a sprinkle of Asian, like Indian and South Asian. And then, there's enough of them. But I graduated. There were only three Black women who graduated from the department at that time. And so it was
Which department were you in?
computer science.
That in itself is unique,
Yeah.
right? At that time, going into computer science as a woman and then a Black woman.
Yeah, I considered myself to be a triple minority because I was female and Black and young in the roles that I was in.
So you did computer science, and then how did that unfold?
It was a journey, but I had my tribe. I was very active in, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers. Together, we pooled resources. We were each other's kind of support system because it just was really difficult and challenging at that time, to get through the rigorous, engineering and the schooling aspect of it. But post-college, I had a beautiful tech career. I wore a couple of different hats. I started off in tech support and then I moved into tech sales engineering. So I started my sales journey at Cisco and then I ended my career at Microsoft as an account executive. But even at Microsoft, as diverse and amazing, as it is, when I left, I was the only African-American woman in my role for the division that I sold into. For state and local government at that time, before the reorg happened in 2017. So, I just always was someone who stood out. I was always a one of one, a unicorn.
That's a wonderful way to kind of frame that even in a tribe, you still need to be one of one.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can actually exemplify your own personal identity and authenticity. Going through this tech career, being part of these large organizations, Cisco, Microsoft, they are huge tribes in some ways because they give you enormous amount of comfort.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you decided to kind of break out of that.
I did.
Why?
I felt like that chapter had closed for me. I just felt a calling to do something else. I felt like I had nothing else to prove. So I had a very competitive spirit in nature. I think maybe it stems from the bullying. And also, I think just the way that I grew up, we were competitive in nature. We were driven by, academic success and so forth. But I spent a lot of my years wanting to show and prove to people that I'm the best or I belong or that I'm here and you're going to see me, and I'm going to do great things. And I just need an opportunity and a chance and all of that. And at the end of Microsoft, I felt like I have nothing else to prove to anybody, not even to myself. And now it's time to move forward more in purpose, more in passion. So I started really trying to think through kind of what's next. I know, the tech career has ended, but what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I just kept thinking through that. And then I just went back to what I enjoyed doing, which was coaching. It just so happened that people knew I had time on my hands. I started volunteering. And the next thing you know, it went from, doing the resume of a friend to being invited to speak to college students, high school students, and then doing resumes for teams So one of my family members helped with that. They knew I was a resume writer. Hey, we need to frame and shape, these resumes to submit these proposals to the government. Can you help with that? And this caught a fire. It really did. I kind of launched a career coaching platform. I became a certified resume writer and career services person. I also got certified in executive coaching. And then I moved into HR consulting. I switched careers. I went back to school and then saw the opportunity to build something that would connect tech to empowering employees, but then also giving insights to the employer, because I became very motivated and moved to empower the employer to better serve the employee and create, this workplace where everyone can thrive and belong.
Talk a little bit about your company now.
Okay.
On the HR, right? I mean, that in itself is kind of leading to the importance of purpose in what you're doing. So talk a little bit about, what you're doing now and why that is important.
Yeah. So my company is called Ponder. It's a future of work solution. So we offered AI-powered corporate coaching that empowers employees to thrive personally and professionally while giving employers analytics to retain talent and to foster belonging and to better preserve their executive leaders and to really improve the workplace environment and the overall experience. So our platform delivers personalized coaching in AI and human virtual form, wellness and burnout insights, as well as it measures the workplace environment on belonging. And it also gives scoring in terms of retention. What is the risk to the environment that folks leave? So that's been the mission, to empower people in workplaces to thrive through data, belonging, and intentional leadership.
So let's dig a little bit into the space of intentional leadership. Talk about why that is important to you.
So again, I'm someone who solves problems, and there's a connective tissue in really my entire life, right? Now, when I became a founder, I didn't have all the answers. There are often times where I was searching for resources, I was like, okay, where's this founder tribe? My role has changed. My label and identity has changed. My purpose hasn't changed, but I need to find this new outlet where I can get the support that I need. And burnout was happening at just a rapid rate. There were times where I wanted to quit and kind of just give up. And during those times, I kind of heard a voice in my head saying, why don't you build something for yourself again? So I ended up building or creating a product within Ponder called Leadership. So the concept of leadership is really steering leaders into belonging mindsets,
Right.
Yeah. So they're more belonging driven, because as I was promoting Ponder, demoing it, trying to sell and convince it to HR folks and sometimes even to business owners or the executive suite, I just started realizing, you know what? If the leader is not well, the organization will not be well. Well, how do I fix that? And also, how do I tap in? How do I target that audience or that market who is, invested in the success as well as the well-being and the preservation of the business owner, the executive leader, the president, and the founder? Now I'm creating Leadership. It's a cohort and it's subscriptions for executive coaching. So I'm now solving a problem within a problem. Leader preservation coaching, really focusing on the acceleration of the leader and the up-leveling of the leader to be a better leader for their organization.
I love this approach to leadership, which is focused on self-care.
Absolutely.
A lot of us don't focus on self-care. And you bringing in this element to leadership, I think, is actually fantastic. So you were part of the accelerating social transformation.
I was, and it changed me.
So talk a little bit about that. I mean, why was that important? How did that reframe your thinking?
I think it was at a time in my life where purpose was calling. And so I'm someone who believes that purpose is remembered. It's never found. Your purpose isn't found. It's remembered. I can't wait to put it in a book one day.
You will.
I will. Yes, I will. But yeah, so like, I feel like what you're meant to do is already woven in who you are. And so it's, people are out here trying to chase it like it's a, scavenger hunt. But I really believe and I feel like the truth is that your purpose isn't something you find. It's something you remember.
Yeah. So AST got you to remember your purpose.
Absolutely.
Right? So that journey of remembrance, I think that's just such a fantastic word, that purpose is not found. Purpose is remembered, because everybody has their why. It's just that we don't remember it.
We don't remember it, but of course, in life you live in retrospect, right? You live forward, you remember, you reflect backward. There's always connective tissue. So if you take time to just reflect and pause and ponder, which was the initial name of my company. I had it for a reason. And then I put the PondHR and called it Ponder, the one word, startup name. Yes. And when you're taking time to ponder on life, what it means, what you're doing in it, and all of that, I just really feel you start seeing the connective tissue. Even like you pointed out how my parents were about service. I never even recognized that. My mom's an educator. I'm a coach. My dad is all about advocacy for the people. I am belonging for the workplace people.
Sure.
So like there's always the connective tissue. I graduated, I walked across GW stage and sat on the stage, on the graduation stage, because I got a community service award for student involvement and something about community empowerment. Yeah. But I'm just pointing out, there's always a connective tissue. Take time to ponder on it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about purpose. And why is purpose important to you? And how has purpose helped you when times have got tough? And you've kind of talked a little bit about how you've gone through these stages. So talk a little bit about the importance of purpose.
Purpose is fluid. It's always moving, and it evolves as you do.
Right.
It definitely evolves as you do. What's great when you're really walking in purpose is you just start meeting versions of yourself that you didn't know existed. And it just calls forth a growth. It demands it. Whether you want it or ready or not, here it comes. It's going to happen, especially when you're really moving in purpose. Not perfection, but when you're walking in purpose. Again, I feel like there's parts to most of us that are just waiting for their moment to rise if you're going to be obedient to yourself.
Such amazing words that you have just highlighted, right? That purpose is a journey that allows you to reveal yourself, right? So in that act of remembrance, you're actually discovering. And in the act of discovering, you are building that connective tissue between the past, present, and future.
Absolutely.
I love it.
You've got it.
So next, we're coming to the end of our time. So let's talk, give me your one golden nugget, a piece of wisdom that you want to share with our listeners.
I would say, I don't know what your purpose looks like, but I know it's needed. And I just hope that you pause and ponder long enough to hear it. Be bold enough to believe it. Trust your gut, trust your heart, and trust your story or your purpose, and just look for what it is that you're supposed to do. It's probably whispering to you. So listen for the whispers. I just really challenge people, because I'm always constantly asking people, who are you? Who are you? That's the type of executive coach I am. We, as people, don't always know who we are. That's part of the journey in itself as well.
We all talk to ourselves. We have these little voices in ourselves. But sometimes these voices are loud. And in many cases, these loud voices overshadow everything we say. What you have highlighted is simply that listen to the whisper. And if you listen to the whisper, you start remembering. That's just such a wonderful way to end. So, Aisha, thank you so very much for being part of this. Again, listen to your whisper. Remember, purpose is about remembering, and it's about your memory. With that, thank you all very much for listening to this another episode of Living with Purpose. Thank you very much, Tysha.
Thank you.